Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to Drifty TV. Appreciate you guys tuning in for this one. I thought I would just throw my little two pence in on this Tommy Tuchel stuff. Obviously, as you guys can see from the title, that is who I will be talking about. Not going to be a long one. I'm just, I'm just going to give my opinion on where I think I stand with the whole situation and reflecting on what I've seen other people talking about, because there's been a lot of people talking about this whole situation. A few of the conversations have got a bit wild, if I'm being honest with you, especially from like the people who are being patriotic, if that's what they want to call it, when we all really know what it is. But I'm also gonna try and look at it from both angles. I do pride myself on being someone who I try my best to look at things from other people's point of view when I'm really overlooking a situation. So I'm not going to ignore the people who were born and bred English and who are feeling a little bit weird about this situation, because everybody has to be respected in the scenario. Their reasoning isn't to be respected because I think it comes from a place of hate and prejudice. But I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to some of the people where I think they're just looking at it more from a point of view of just being patriotic and thinking, you know what, I I do I do want the manager of the country, especially if we're successful, to be from the country. One thing I will say, now I grew up in England and faced cumberbus amounts, if that's the right word, of racism throughout life. And I'm fair skinned, light skinned. I can't even imagine what it's like to be dark skinned or to be a lot browner than I am. But obviously, aesthetically, I am a black man, you know what I mean, and have been treated as such. I mean, I am one, but you get what I mean. So I look at the way England is, and they brought it on themselves. There's no two ways about that. England tried to go and take over the world, and we're not going to have a history lesson. We know Christopher Columbus, etc., etc., etc. And that history, Commonwealth, everything is the reason why English people aren't allowed to be proud of being English in other people's eyes. Rightly so. But at the same time, we have a little sympathy for the people who had nothing to do with that, aren't racist, but just want to be proud of where they're from. Um, and most other countries, they pretty much are allowed to be patriotic in that way. Do you get what I mean? Like if a Brazilian or an Argentinian or a Mexican or an Italian or anybody else, like if they were like, nah, do you know what? Like I'm a proud Italian and I want an Italian to be in charge of the Italian national team. I don't think anybody would think that they're being prejudiced or racist, so to speak. I think it does kind of come from the history of the world and the way England colonized and did whatever they did. But as I said, I try to have a little bit of empathy for the people who aren't that way, but still want to be proud of where they're from. But what you have to do is you have to look at this from the footballing point of view as well, and you have to just look at it. Move, a lot of people say you got to move with the times. You got to look at it from what it is. You have to roll with the punches, and you have to understand that the world isn't simple anymore when it comes to race, ethnicity, where you're from. It's not. It's very complicated. The world is a very mixed place right now, which I think is for the better. But that has to be taken into consideration when it comes to a lot of things. So if we want to take this really extreme prejudice that these people have about him being the manager, and it's not coming from a place of just patriotism, it's coming from a place of hate, and it's coming from a place of racism and discrimination and prejudice and whatnot. I ask you, why do you hate the manager not being English, but you're okay with? And don't get me wrong, these players get massive stick at times, which I won't even touch on now because it's just going to get me angry. But if we look at all of the English players who play in the England team, how many of those are actually born and bred, thoroughbred, heritage English? How many? Even Grealish is Irish, if I'm not mistaken. I should have done research on that before, but if I'm not, isn't Grealish even of Irish heritage? If he's not, then apologies for that. But I'm sure somebody once told me that the amount of African, Caribbean heritage, descendancy within this English team. Without even knowing, there's probably some Welsh. I know they're British, but there's probably maybe some Welsh people even in there, or that their heritage. Like, how many people in the England team, how many of the players in the England team are just 100% pure English? I don't know. A quarter of the squad at the absolute most, maybe. So where would England be if that was if that was the case? Where would England be? The future of England right now: Cole Palmer, Jude Bellingham, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Bukayo Saka. The future of England, the absolute future of England. Not one of those people are English by heritage, or they have a very mixed bag of heritage within them. So, you know, I mean, you cannot just be ignorant within the way you're looking at this. You just can't. And I'm never going to talk down a racist. I'm never going to talk down someone who's got that ignorance, that hate in their heart. I'm not even going to try and bother. I leave those people to their own devices. God will deal with you. But I just ask the questions and I want an intelligent answer. I ask the questions and I just want somebody to make some sense of it so I can have a little bit more understanding of it from your point of view. So the history between Germany and England, fair enough. It runs deep. We get all that. But at the same time, don't paint Germany with the same brush as the Nazis and everything that was around that whole situation. For the most part, German people have tried very, very hard to apologize for what their history was and to try and, you know, do better. And because they know better, they go above and beyond sometimes. Germany is a very multicultural place now, and deliberately trying to be inclusive and understanding the ways of the past and how wrong they were. And I still don't think the hate should be there the way it was. It was understandable in the 60s and the 70s when it was still not even that long ago, and all of that kind of stuff. And when people had excuses, I guess, for being, not really excuses, but, you know, ignorance was bliss back then, wasn't it? This is a new day. This is a new world, man. You can't behave that way anymore, and you shouldn't be thinking that way anymore. I personally don't even think Tommy Tuchel is even that good of a manager in terms of the elites. I've openly said this. He's very toxic and it never ends well. And I just don't rate him as highly as other people do. But what I will say is he is an extremely good cup manager. Extremely good cup manager. And international football is cup football. So the appointment makes a lot of sense to me regardless. And let's be honest as well. Let's check the candidates. I would have had no issue with it going to people who have less experience without winning any trophies, such as if they'd have given it to Eddie Howe. Because I think he would have done a brilliant job. I don't even know if he even wanted the job, but he still has never won anything. At least Tommy Tuchel actually has got over the line and has won some of the biggest trophies that are around. He's won the league title in France. He's won the Champions League with Chelsea. He's been to numerous cup finals. He's won trophies. So you do technically need to be a winner, and you should be a winner if you're in charge of a national team, really. I'm not saying you always have to be, but that should be one of the criteria, especially if you're one of the top nations who aspires to win it or be one of the favorites going into it. So, you know, well, good luck to him. I don't dislike Tuchel or anything. I just don't rate him the way other people do. So I've got no issue with him on a personal level. And if he does well, man. All play to him. And I'm very intrigued if he wins the World Cup or the Euros or whatever it may be. And he is the reason England get the first, you know, was it 50? What is it now? Is it 60 years nearly? Hold on. Yeah, it'll be 60 years, right? 60 years since England won anything, give or take, rounding up. So, you know what I mean? Like, what they're going to say when he brings that joy, if he brings that joy, you're still going to hate him then? What are you going to do? There's going to be a lot of short memories, isn't it? Same way they are for the abuse they give the Sanchos and the Rashfords and the Sakas. You know, get your head out the sand. Get your head out the sand. Get that hate out your heart, because you think it's fine now where you're here on earth. You will be judged. And on that day, how do you explain? How do you explain the hate you have in your heart? So Tommy T, let's see if you can do your thing. Let's see if you can do your thing. There you have it, people. Short and sweet. I could go into it with more depth, but I just don't want to. But I did want to give my opinion on this. Subscribe if you're new. Big up your damn selves each and every time. Love as always. Let's talk about it in the comments. Let's see how we go. And I'll see you on the next one, people. Tommy Tuchel, can he win the World Cup with England? We will see. Till next time, people. Peace.